Okay. So, hello, Dr. Dom. It's great to have you here. Thanks for
Thank you.
dedicating a bit of your time to us. We want to discuss your upcoming book today, and let's just start by introducing you. Just tell me a little bit about yourself. Who is Dr. Dom?
Well, Dr. Dom, I'm an old medical doctor. I'm nearly 88, and I've worked a lot of my life overseas in famines and wars and disasters, natural disasters, as well as working in mission hospitals. So in order to fund a lot of that, I used to work in Canada as a medical doctor, and that would help me. So when I got very ill at one stage, I was married, of course, very young. I married my wife, Doreen, and we had 5 children. And I would bring them to Canada with me on these missions to make money to fund the other thing. And that was great, but I got typhus in the Ethiopian famine. So I was ill for nearly 3 weeks. I was in a coma. I was flown to Geneva because I got a cardiac arrest, survived. And I got a job lecturing in a university, which was lovely in Galway here in Ireland. And that really gave me regular kind of finance. And I wrote several medical books. Indeed, while my wife was dying of ovarian cancer for maybe 2 years, I wrote these books sitting beside her all the time in the hospital, just typing away. So they were very... in fact, I see them here. Sorry, I went away from him, but they happened to be in this room. So I wrote An Irish Doctor's Odyssey, and I wrote No Tears Left by Afra to Bosnia. And I have several other lots of medical books as well. And I've always loved children. And when the children would be small, and then even the grandchildren, I would just make up stories at bedtime and tell them. So I decided to try and recall them and write them from memory. And that's why I decided to write books, children's stories.
Yeah, interesting, I think, because you just said you wrote medical books and then you turned to children's books. So how did that come into your life? Are you a grandfather yourself?
I'm a grandfather. That's probably how it came into my life. And also my active medical life is pretty well finished. I used to go to work with teaching young surgeons in Africa up to about 4 years ago. Every year I'd go 3 times to different parts of Africa, and which was great. And really now I suppose I want to leave a legacy too, but I also wanted to get books for children that they would give entertainment, that they'd enjoy them, and stories that would teach a message. I wasn't trying to preach or anything, but there was always 2 levels. There was always a message in each story. There's a message either, of equality among people and how we can ostracize people by the way they look, never mind the color of their skin, and disabled people and so on. I wanted to have all that in it. So I hoped good things but I want to make the stories entertaining for adults too. So I think they're okay for adults as well. I don't know. I hope so.
If your goal, each story has a moral, and it's told in an adventurous and entertaining way. So it will appeal to children as well as their parents, of course. And something that I noticed is that your stories seem to have a recurring theme of kindness and friendship, and also a connection to nature. So would you say that you found comfort in nature when you've been to several places and witnessed atrocious conditions? So what's your connection then to nature?
Well, with nature, I suppose my connection is like anybody who's sort of on their own. Maybe for instance, if you're working in an isolated area, I'm thinking even of Burundi, And I used to stay in a place beside a lake, and I'd get up early in the morning just to watch the birds coming onto the little island in the lake. And I loved African flowers. And I sent a daughter to Germany actually for a year to learn German. And I got to love parts of the Black Forest. And as far as stories go, the modern ones, I think for children, there's so much science fiction in them. They have to end up in violence and wizards and sort of fighting monsters and awful things like that over the stars. I kind of wanted to go in the tradition of Grimm's fairy tales. I don't know if you remember those, or maybe they're
Tell me
too
about.
old-fashioned for you. But in a way, that's what I'm a continuation of. Though some of Grimm's fairy tales can be very frightening. I didn't want to frighten children.
No, that's not what we want, right?
No, no.
Be funny and adventurous and just entertaining.
I hope so.
And yeah, I'm confident about it. I at least liked all the stories. I really enjoyed them.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mm.
So, and how was working with Tribes Press for you?
It was very good. To be honest, Richard, it was excellent. Now, the connection, the personal connection with Marguerite and Tribes Press was so much better than anything I've ever had before. Obviously, in the medical books, which were, they were peer reviewed, so there was no connection between me and the people, really. And they were all pretty well done, totally for charity anyway, so I didn't have any say in them one way or the other. They just, anything, it all went to charity. So with Tribes Press, I'm very happy. And I must say that it isn't just the nice personality, it's the professionalism that they have, which is excellent. And indeed, the language facilities, getting translation into German and other languages, terrific. Because kids are the same everywhere.
Exactly. And so do you plan on writing more children's books then? Or see how?
It would. I have lots of stories in my head that I didn't tell, you know. But I would, yes, I would. If the children like this one and the parents, I would indeed. I hope they will.
I'm happy to hear.
Anyway, what you see in the shops, I think.
Yeah, definitely. Great. And so if you had to say why parents should buy your book, then what would you say? Why should parents buy your book?
Why? I think it's going to resonate with parents. I think they're going to enjoy it like their children enjoy it, in a different level, of course, but I think they are. And I think they're going to buy it because it's totally for good. The things are in it that make their children feel better and do better and bring the good out of the kids. That's what I'm trying to do. Because all the, children are lovely. Children don't have any angle on anything. They're not trying to make a profit out of you. They're not trying to use you for someone. That's why I suppose I love children. I really do prefer them to adults, sadly. But I do, really. I prefer children to adults. And you can say what you like with children.
Curious beings, and you always learn from them as well. It's incredible, I think.
I think it's normal. I think it's natural. I just don't understand anyone who would hurt a child. That's wonderful. They're the greatest bunch of us. So thank you.
Thank you too. Is there anything left to? Maybe I have another question. Is there a story that you are particularly attached to? Or is this like asking you to choose between your children?
There's several of them that I think of, I like. For me personally, the daisy is one that I liked because it's about a daisy gets, his seed gets cast into a posh garden and all the roses attack him at night and try to kill him. I like that one because I wrote it at a time, during, I think it was some famine, and very lot of sadness, but it ends up well. And I like Long Shadow because Long Shadow had no shadows. There's a land of shadows underneath the world somewhere where all the unwanted shadows live, and how he escaped and got a shadow,
Yeah.
it's quite a long story. I like that. And I like the three brothers too, the long nose, sharp nose and fat nose. Yeah, how the brother who didn't do well in this world's terms did the best, really.
That
Yeah.
one, and that's also the one that I translated into Italian. Yes, it was a nice story, and it had like all the other stories, a nice moral into it, and the end was also a nice ending.
Yeah.
So okay, then would you like to add something, or is there something that you want to say?
No, all I can say is, and I thank you for the interview, is just that children, to me, all over the world are the same. I've worked all over the world, to be honest, in the States, in Canada, in South America. Well, not South America, really, in the Caribbean, Africa. I've worked in the Khmer Rouge thing, and I've worked with children. And I just love children. In fact, one of your own people worked with me in Kosovo, was it? In Montenegro. He was Italian, and I used to follow him like the Pied Piper. I could have made up a story about him. He was a lovely fellow. And I believe that this is needed, that children shouldn't be always exposed to fast cars and airplanes and mobile phones that do everything. I think they need this. Just let their imagination spread and let them know that good is good. And it's good to be good, if you can. Not that I'm that good, no.
So from what I can tell, you still have a lot of stories to tell, and I really hope that you will write more and that we'll have more books written by you, because I think children and parents will enjoy your books. And at this point, I really want to thank you for your time. And I hope that we will get a chance to work together again with Stripes Press. And yeah, thank you. Thank you very much.
Arrivederci. She say in Italian, goodbye.
Arrivederci.
Yes, yeah.